Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Mythos Busters, now with reduced sodium content. We got it all out last time. Joining me tonight is the crew, well, most of the crew, anyway. We've got Ian.
Hello.
And Scott.
Good evening.
And Nick.
Greetings and salutations!
I'm sure that's a reference to something that I'm not getting.
If a listener can figure out which video game I'm referencing with that quote, and if there's probably multiple video games with that quote, but if a listener can, then props to you.
I mean, though, aren't greetings and salutations the same thing, essentially?
I didn't write the line,
Or
Sean,
salutations, like,
it.
specifically wishes of good health?
You know, I don't know. The act of saluting is a salutation, maybe? I don't know. No, that wouldn't be
let's
it.
go with that. All right. Well, we got a fun episode in store tonight. We're going to do a few things. We've got our standard news and intros, all that good stuff. We've got some really juicy articles to talk about. And then today we're going to bring back a fun little segment that I thought we should revisit. We're going to do another deck build. So yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. For those of you who were over or underwhelmed with overpowering rats, here's our second shot at a decent deck. I don't know. Yeah. I'm gonna try it out
now with more cards available.
Yeah,
yeah. I think the card pool is close to doubled at this point.
Must be
from the core, at least.
I think that deck would have been better if we had higher education.
Yeah, just a bit.
That deck is better when you have higher education. All right. So, Nick, what's going on in the community?
So we have two new articles, both of them written by Chris Mooney, who goes by Moon-E in our Discord. Thank you, Chris, for writing these articles, these very, very insightful articles. I posted them back to back one day after the other because they both kind of cover two different perspectives on the same topic. And pretty much the topic he's tackling is one that we often talk about here, or we used to at least when the show started. But it was the whole idea of click economy, which kind of started with Netrunner. And it's this idea that since the game has this built-in one-to-one ratio of certain actions, like one action equals like one card draw, one action equals one resource, that sort of thing, then a lot of people kind of use that as a baseline from which to judge other actions and other efficiencies in the game. And we've had articles in the past that deal with how that's flawed to do that for everything, how every action has its own merit based entirely on the situations in front of you when you take that action. And Chris Mooney took the opportunity to write these two articles. The first one is Rabbit's Foot, What's Its Worth? And the second one is Mythos Busters, Debunking the Myth of the 1-1-1 Economy.
Yeah.
So they're very good articles. I highly recommend that you guys give them a read. Rabbit's Foot talks specifically about that card in conjunction with this click economy mindset. Because Rabbit's Foot is a card, especially if you read Reddit, and I remember I was surprised at this because I always liked Rabbit's Foot, but a lot of people on Reddit said that it has bad economy, you have to get it to trigger at least 4 times for it to be worth it, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, are you kidding? When you fail, it rewards you. Like, that's so good in my eyes.
Friggin' robots.
Yeah, but some people didn't agree with that idea. So his article...
Cylons.
So
That's exactly what a Cylon would say.
Airlock them.
Jeez. So Rabbit's Foot, What's Its Worth, deals with that card and the perceptions around that card. And then his second article is kind of the broader spectrum, and it looks at the click economy as a whole, and how Arkham really takes that and turns it on its head, and how you can't really treat that 1-to-1-to-1 ratio as the baseline rule for every situation.
No, you cannot. And, I've always felt that using that whole idea like, oh, okay, so I play this card and it would take me 3 clicks or 3 actions to get the similar effect, so it's worth 3 actions. Oh, but then you have to subtract the card itself and the action to play it and blah, 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 blah. It's like... it's so nonsensical. It's distilling it down to not even usable parts. It's like judging someone's state of health based entirely on their weight.
I think there's 2 different things from that from Netrunner. Is that one, in this card game, you get a card and a resource just for free every turn. So that throws off a lot of math, because in Netrunner, no one gets a card or resource without clicking or doing something.
Well, except the corporation.
But that counts as their click, right? Because they get only 3 clicks after that.
True.
Their first one is like an automatic draw click, right? The other part is, I think this is a good tool when used when comparing 2 exact cards, and I think it was a weakness we were looking at, indebted versus internal injury, right? They both take 2 actions essentially. Indebted takes away 2 resources. Internal injury takes 2 actions to get rid of, but internal injury takes away a card draw because you have to draw it, and then it also does damage. Right? So using it as okay, I can... It's kind of like when you take a mathematical equation and get rid of x on both sides or whatever. Sure. That's where I see the click economy.
You mean algebra?
Useful. Yeah, algebra. Math. I think that's where it's useful, where it's a tool within a whole... It's a tool within a toolbox for evaluating a card.
It's one distinct measure that tells you a thing about a card in a very narrow way. Anyway,
if you need to sand down a piece of wood, you're not going to use a Phillips head screwdriver.
Well, maybe you're not.
I don't want to
I know some people on Reddit who would love to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem when you're taking a tool and letting it become some sacred sacraments that guide everything you do and how you see the world. It's it just starts warping it. So I think we're still due to do a whole episode on this at some point. But
oh god, I can't wait.
I just purged all my salt. We're gonna have to store up for a little bit.
Just play Where Doom Awaits again, I think, and then you'll be set.
Oh, okay. So taking a quick aside to talk about that.
Uh-oh.
Follow up to last episode.
Spoilers? Because we spoiler take the last one.
No, thank you for clarifying, but I will keep this spoiler free.
Okay.
So if you listened, if you didn't listen last time, the bottom line is I had a bad time playing Where Doom Awaits with solo Agnes. And I will say that now that I brought it to my Rex and Zoe campaign and had a fantastic time with it. So my gripes are narrow. They're still there. I still have some hurt fifis, but it is a great scenario. So we'll keep it there.
It is super fun.
I'm not retracting anything I said. I'm just supplementing it.
Sure.
Go out and read this article, though. I think he does a really good job of laying out why that equating 1 to 1 to 1, 1 click equals 1 card equals 1 resource. Sorry, 1 action equals 1 card equals 1 resource is just fundamentally flawed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
As the sole purpose of determining the efficiency of a card.
Well, it's super helpful because something like Rabbit's Foot is something that I've used a ton as someone who plays Windy a ton, and it's just I know from playing experience how good it is, but it's nice to have a nicely explained article that details, that kind of gives the rationale that backs up my gut feeling and playing experience, and now I can just link that.
Yeah.
Field experience is definitely superior. I'm sorry. You can do as much numerical analysis as you want, but these are too complex of systems to just think you know everything just by breaking down the numbers.
Well, and just the nature that Arkham is a cooperative game versus Netrunner being a competitive game, and an asymmetrical competitive game to begin with, that alone puts different weight on different actions beyond the 1 resource, 1 card draw. So even just the structure of the game itself, that changes it so much. So I think carrying over that rule from Netrunner is a silly thing to do, in my opinion.
One resource, one card draw sounds like a campaign slogan. Someone should run on that platform. What else we got, Nick?
Also, another website. So a couple episodes ago, we talked about Arkham Central, which is the website where you can view fan-made scenarios and rate them and read all about them and that sort of thing. Another community website is ArkhamHorrorCommunityStats.com. Arkham Horror Community Stats is a central website. It's still kind of in the works. It's still pretty new, like it's kind of bare bones right now, but it basically lets people log their games and then see the compiled results of all games logged. So it gives you an idea of, well, the stats of the community, surprisingly. So an interesting thing to do for people who are interested in that sort of thing, seeing how different games stack up against others and investigators here versus investigators there versus different difficulties. So that's a nice little central place to see all of that. And as with any website that collects stats like this, one thing to keep in mind is that it only tracks, obviously, the games that are logged. So you can only go off of the sample size that's available. But it at least provides some sort of window then.
We had something like this in Conquest, and it was super awesome. Of course, it totally depends on, people actually putting data in. But yeah, once you get a few hundred data points, like it's really cool. Just kind of look and see what the community's doing, and
and competitive games have this because you get tournament reports and people will see what factions, or maybe in Conquest, what warlords are performing well or not well, and what's making the cut,
win rates,
what's doing well in Swiss, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to get an equivalent in a co-op game, but this should be pretty close. I'm kind of excited to see what comes out of this.
Yeah, I took a look at it a couple days ago, and I was like, hey, this actually is well thought out. Like, what the information they're asking for, like the scenario, investigator, what else? There's a couple things like upgrades and stuff like that. I forget which, but I looked at it and I was like, this is going to be, once we get like a bunch of entries into it, it's going to be an awesome tool. So
go put entries in it, guys. Do it. Mm-hmm. What's the URL again?
ArkhamHorrorCommunitystats.com. No hyphens, no slashes, no capitals, no nothing. All one word.
And obviously check the show notes because we'll put it in there as well. Last one. I can't believe we actually haven't mentioned this on the podcast yet. I think the fact that we had the new player episode right around the time that we cemented this kind of messed it up. But something that we did want to mention is if you're going to Gen Con, we are having a Mythos Busters listener event. So this is going to be just a casual meet up and play. We've got some plans for some modest swag that I think people will get excited about. And of course, 3 out of the 5 of us are going to be there. Tom's always a question mark. He just kind of shows up sometimes, so I'm not going to count him out yet. But 3 of the 5 of us are confirmed. So unfortunately, there's no tickets left for it. It was kind of funny. I actually had to reason and argue and provide some kind of evidence for Gen Con to give us more seats. They wanted to give us only 16, 17 seats initially. And I kind of had to be like, well, I do this other podcast and there's some crossover and we get X people for here and blah, blah, blah. And I had to fight for more seats. I finally got us 42 seats. Those sold out in a flash already. So that's exciting and awesome. So if you were interested in coming and are now not able to get a ticket, I kind of want to know if I can document that in some way to show Gen Con next year. Be like, yeah, guess what? People want to come to our crap. That would be fantastic. So if you can't get a ticket, you're interested in coming, definitely drop by and say hi. Nick, I know you looked at the location. Where are we going to be?
Oh, let me pull that up again real quick. It is in the ICC. I remember that for sure. So Indianapolis Convention Center, Hall C, purple tables 12 through 18. And
and that's Saturday at 6 p.m.
So 8.
So
8 is when it ends. Yes, 6 to 8.
6 to 8. And then after that, we'll be retiring to the Slippery Noodle. So my other podcast, Cardboard of the Rings, does an after dark party, kind of a Gen Con closer, more or less, where we go to this bar and they let us take over the basement, essentially, play some games, drink some drinks. It's a real good time. So, like I said, come say hi at the listener event, and even if you can't make it to that, feel free, from 8 o'clock after, to drop by the Slippery Noodle for the Cardboard of the Rings After Dark event, because I think all of us will be there as well. I can't speak for Nick, but I assumed.
I don't know why I wouldn't.
I don't know.
You haven't met Brandon yet.
That's true. Well, yeah, not his in-person self. If it's anything like his RP self, then maybe I'll skip out. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a lot bit like his RP self.
Okay.
He's oddly interested in just weird interactions with NPCs.
Well, in my game, I'm a PC, but I guess I don't know how I equate to him. We'll see.
Everyone's an NPC to someone else, Nick.
Right.
All right, so yeah, if like I said, if you want to come say hi, please come say hi. We're excited to see people, and if you would have come had a ticket been available, I want to hear about it. You can just message us in Discord, let us know via the email, or pop by at the event. If I can document somehow that we had massive spillover, then I shouldn't have to fight so hard for more tables next year.
I would have shown up if there was a ticket.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, you bet.
I just love the puzzlement on the part of the Gen Con folks to, no offense to them. I'm sure they're dealing with a lot of events, but it's just funny. Like, wait, I don't understand this event. Like, it's a podcast and people are just coming to play with you? Does not compute.
Yeah, well, and the other thing he said, okay, well, how many people do you think you can manage? It's just like, manage? Just get butts in seats and let's play the game. It's fine.
Yeah. Which, on that note, if you did get into our event and didn't get into one of the official Arkham Horror events, so the good thing is sadly you won't get a copy of the scenario unless you find a way, but you'll at least get to play it at our event for sure, because there'll be lots of copies floating around. So you'll at least get to play it at Gen Con at our event, I'm sure.
That's the hope.
How many players does the scenario facilitate again?
I think it's up to 12.
Yep.
Did they go the same route as...
Yeah, so...
Yeah, okay.
And all three of the hosts that are going for sure will have their own copy, so that'll be almost all of the attendees at the event. So, and I'm sure someone else will have another one, so...
All right. Well, so moving on in. Oh, I'm so excited to talk about these articles. Ian, lay it on us.
Okay, so starting with the first article, which is called The Secrets of Time and Space. This is basically the preview article for Lost in Time and Space, which should be due out on July 6th. So probably around the time this episode comes out, roughly. But anyway, this kind of goes through, again, as usual. It doesn't give a ton of detail about the scenario itself, but we're looking forward to... I think safe to say from the descriptions, probably the weirdest scenario of the cycle so far. They mention, planar rifts, extra-dimensional monsters, different portals and realities. So safe to say there's going to be some weird stuff going on, which I'm really looking forward to because so far we haven't really had anything that kind of out. Like, none of our scenarios have taken us outside of our dimension so far.
Yeah, that's true. It's all been pretty... I mean, like, other than trains getting sucked up into time and space, it's all been pretty vanilla Arkham Horror.
Yeah. And from playing the very first Arkham Horror board game, which, as with most people was their first Arkham Files experience, that's one of the main things I remember, even though it's been a long time playing it, is, like, going into those other worlds, and you do get lost in time and space, and so it's cool finally having that moment.
Yeah, it was like a core mechanic to
yes,
the FFG Arkham.
It really was. It had like the set of like, I don't know how many, like 6 or so circles, which were like the alternate worlds or whatever.
The Great Hall of Cilantro.
But I think for our purposes, the most exciting part of this article was the one player card that was spoiled. I don't know who to give this to. This is kind of
Take it, Ian. It's all yours.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. So this is the Red Gloved Man. This is a neutral asset, 2 costs, but a whopping 5 experience to upgrade to this thing. The subtitle, I should mention, is He Was Never There. Very cool. 1 wild icon, the ally and conspirator traits, fast, keyword actually, and reaction after the Red Gloved Man enters play. Choose 2 of your skills. While the Red Gloved Man is in play, raise the base value of each of those skills to 6. And, of course, there's a catch. Forced at the end of the Mythos phase, discard the Red Gloved Man, and he has 4 health and 4 sanity.
Wow.
Bonkers.
Can you imagine getting this guy into play the same turn that you pop the golden watch?
I think that's the play. I think that's the combo.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
That's a lot of damn experience, though.
Yeah. Well, or, police badges.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is kind of Gandalf, right? For you Lord of the Rings players out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
the basis is there, but I don't know.
I mean, he
Nick's
costs
not sold.
5 XP. Gandalf costs 5.
Not
right?
XP.
His stats are 4 and 4. Well,
Red Glove Man costs
stretching,
2.
Okay. Just this is Gandalf the Red, as far as I'm
Gandalf the
concerned.
Red.
There we go.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, it's the same archetype. You know what I mean? Like that same family of card type.
Big bomb transient
Yes,
character
yeah.
that's just gonna make your day nice while he's in play.
Yeah.
And one thing I do appreciate that he doesn't go away at the end of the round. He goes away at the end of the Mythos phase, so he's gonna stick through your encounter card pulls, which counts.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and potentially getting you through whatever treacheries you're trying to get rid of off yourself at the end of your turn and all those kind of things. I could foresee a very sad moment when I use this just to boost freaking Skid's willpower to 6 just so I can get rid of Frozen by Fear.
You also know in any of the scenarios that have the Beyond the Veil set, he's gonna hit the discard pile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's just what's gonna happen.
And Ian, I mean, come on. Skids never gets 5 XP anyways.
Wah, wah, wah.
Got him.
So one thing that's interesting is the chance encounter, the survivor event. So there's no reason you couldn't use that on this guy, right?
Ooh, that's another dream. God, this guy just wants to be friends with Wendy, doesn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
Wait, can Wendy take the pocket watch?
No.
No.
That's out of her grasp. Okay.
No.
All right. Well, it was a thought.
She can't take police badge either.
Damn. It's almost like they balanced it.
Yeah, seems good.
Yep.
Expensive, but good.
Yeah, the I don't know. It's a common refrain I think throughout the cycle, at least for me, is just griping a bit about the lack of XP. But it's basically just forcing a lot of hard choices.
And delve too deeps.
Yeah, that too. It'll be interesting, once all the cards are coming out, playing through campaigns and really kind of plotting out what you're going to buy and what you're not going to buy. But yeah, you're definitely not going to be able to afford all these bomb cards. You kind of have to pick one in a lot of cases that's going to be your big buy towards the end.
I feel like this guy's going to be that pick a lot. He does a lot in... I mean, his XP cost is big, but his resource cost, once he's in your deck, this guy's a bomb.
Yeah. He is super cheap, resource-wise.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And he's fast.
He's also... Yeah.
Thank God.
So you still keep your 3 actions.
Yeah.
But he's that kind of okay, now it's time to go fight the big bad guy.
Yeah.
I can drag whatever enemies with me after playing this guy because I can take a hit on him or whatever.
Yeah.
If you need to take hits or
take a
whatnot.
couple hits.
You can tank with him. Well, I guess he's going in dodge tank Wendy.
I guess so.
So I guess this is like the icing on the cake, reinforcing the idea that Dunwich is most definitely a like double charisma build, ally heavy campaign. So I'm interested to see if we stick with that, if like allies are still going to be far and away the strongest part of an investigator deck going into Carcosa or not.
Right. Yeah. Or
I feel like I should just go buy another couple copies of Miskatonic Museum.
Yeah, right?
Is that where Charisma came in?
Somewhere around there. That or no, I think it was Essex County.
Whichever pack has Charisma.
Oh, okay.
No, it was Essex?
I don't know.
Essex.
Yeah. Anyways.
But yeah, we need more than 2 copies of Charisma, for sure.
This would actually be very helpful if you could afford it by Blood on the Altar, so instead of having to move out from Silas's spot, you could just investigate like crazy and then just stay there, because Red Glove Man will take all that damage and horror.
Until he gets kidnapped and then sacked.
Yeah.
That's the nightmare version.
Oh god,
like
that would be
10 XP.
terrible.
That would be terrible. He's only in play for 1 turn, and the card you draw is kidnapped, and then he gets sacked next.
Well, I mean, it's only one step above having spent 4 XP on 2 Peter Sylvesters and having him go away. So. Seems like something that'll probably happen to someone.
That'd be like if in the TV show or movie this badass character comes in mysterious and then a bag just gets swooped over his head from behind and he gets dragged off screaming.
God.
Okay, so that is that. That was the only card spoiled, but it was good enough to whet our appetites for that last pack of... I guess we should take a moment just to talk. How do you guys feel that the cycle is wrapping up like in a few days? That's going to be it.
I'm excited.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to keep playing.
I'm excited now.
Yeah, now that I made it through Where Doom Awaits, I'm excited.
Yeah. If you would ask me 2 weeks ago, I don't know what I would have said.
I'm actually like, it's weird because I was, obviously everybody was super excited for Dunwich prior to its release, and then it seemed like the more we got scenarios, the more my excitement for Dunwich kind of like dropped a little bit, and then the Word of Carcosa came out, and I was like, ooh, that's awesome. So now I'm like, hurry up, let's get to Carcosa, let's go there, because I really want to go there. And so I think I'm going to be that guy who's always like grabbing at whatever's just out of the reach, like, oh, this looks cool, but I'm really excited for what's next,
Yeah, that's a thing. I know even in Lord of the Rings it would be that way, where like the last pack, sometimes you're stuck in that transition mode where you're already super excited for the next deluxe, and so the last scenario is like
it's like
doesn't quite get the same level of excitement.
Right.
But...
It's like, come on, we're almost there.
But I am super curious and excited to see how all the kind of through lines throughout the campaign get wrapped up. And how all these different campaigns play out differently. Hopefully differently in this last scenario. I'm a big fan personally of those big like sacrificial victories, so I hope there's a chance for like Skids to be a big hero and sacrifice himself for the good of the world. Skids and Daisy.
Wait, hang on. This assumes Skids got through Where Doom Awaits, right?
They did, yes. They made it through.
What?
Yep.
It's Skids, man.
They
buys his way through.
Of course they did.
Skids and Daisy, yeah, they actually did so well. The scenario kind of played well to their strengths. So, well, the thing is too, Daisy is just a beast by this point.
Yeah.
Like she's enough of a beast now that she outweighs like Skid's tendency to like step on a rake and cause physical trauma to himself.
Oh my god, I want that card. I want the Wayward Rake card.
What a great treachery. Yeah. If only there were a way to cancel
No
it.
recourse, just deal 1 direct damage to your investigator.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I feel like that's a physical trauma.
Oh.
I feel like it's a damage and a sanity, because the sanity is the embarrassment, like just the sheer like I just want to crawl into a hole feeling,
and then
I'm an idiot. That's what the sanity
If there
is.
was another investigator at your location.
Right.
Yes.
And then I want the Sideshow Bob investigator who, like, forces Wayward Rake to go to the top of the encounter deck before he draws. Simpsons fans? Yeah.
All copies. Yeah. Yep.
Thanks, Scott, for validating.
Oh,
That's going to be
Simpsons
our
reference.
custom scenario with just a bunch of random, like, everyday treachery. Like Lego on the floor,
Yeah.
rake in the lawn.
The rake set is just 22 cards of Wayward Rakes.
22? Jesus.
It's just like over and over, like, ow, ow, ow. Yep.
Anyways.
So that was Lost in Time and Space, and Dunwich Cycle about to
Lost
wrap
in
up.
Time and Rake.
Yep.
Lost in Time and non sequitur. Yeah.
The other big news article was announcing the second Mythos pack of the Path to Carcosa cycle, which is the Unspeakable Oath. The first pack took us to the Historical Society, and this one is very cool. I'm excited for is heading to the Asylum, which is, you know, another one of those like signature buildings that played a big part in the board game, and just is like.
Is it Arkham Asylum? Batman
It is.
listeners, your
Batman
time has come!
Only took you 19 episodes.
I'll be back with a gift, guys. Hang on.
That
Oh
died
my
quickly.
To the gift mobile.
It's going to be really funny when it shows up, guys.
It's gonna be hilarious, just you wait.
While we're waiting for that, so you're gonna be in the asylum. You're gonna be, you know, kind of digging more, finding more information. You're gonna be surrounded by lunatics, as seems only natural. So when that comes out, we'll find more about that. But they did drop a ton of player card spoilers on us, at least more than as usual. So the first one is pulling up. The first one is Forewarned, and let me see. We didn't have any Mystic cards spoiled, so I'll give that to Sean to read. Forewarned.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically a mystic.
Mystic already has this card, and it doesn't cost XP. But anyway, we'll get there. So Forewarned is a Seeker level 1 event, costs 0, has a Willpower pip, Insight trait, fast. When you draw a play when you draw a non-weakness treachery card, place one of your clues on your location, then cancel that card's revelation effect. Because knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
So, I would just like to point out, I'm pretty sure it took Lord of the Rings 5 cycles before it saw its second
Treachery cancellation.
treachery cancel effect. And, it just goes to show you that faction design here is maybe a little bit more fungible?
Fun?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Pretty good card though. I mean, for the Seeker class,
Yeah.
you're probably going to have clues, and if you have to put a clue back, you can probably get it back quite easily.
Yeah.
That's
And they have so many effects that trigger upon having clues on your location anyway. So you're sitting there with that inquiring mind in your hand, and you cleared the location already. And you're like, oh, damn it. Well, I was just go, oh, hey, look, I'll put a clue back.
Yeah, I mean, that
Or-
could even be an option for, like, Roland, right? Like, you put a clue back, and then just so you get that bonus on his gun, kill the enemy, and then you get the clue back anyway, so...
It's like that scenario is like some guy like wants your wallet, so you toss your wallet at him, you punch him out, and then you take your wallet back.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'll take that back. Yeah, it was interesting because I was wondering if it was going to be kind of a situation where Mystic was going to monopolize the treachery cancellation cards, and this kind of obviously showed that that's not the case, which I'm glad about.
And again,
I like
just
it's different though.
Yes, exactly. And it's just getting to the strength of the faction design in this game, where everyone's kind of got solutions, and everyone's getting there is a little bit different.
One might say even strange solutions.
One might.
So if your Dunwich investigator was splashing for water protection, potentially you don't have to do that anymore, which opens up some options.
Yeah.
The second one, very similar along the same lines, is
If you're still playing the Lord of the Rings drinking game, get ready to chug.
Yeah. I think this one is like so close that you have to down the whole drink. Like this isn't just a sip.
think so.
So why don't you take this one, Scott?
Yes, it's a test of will. It even has the same name. They just added at the beginning. It's a one-cost survivor event.
It's a test of will in Lord of the Rings too.
Oh, is it? I just keep on calling it test of will. Oh, well, look at that. There you go. A test of will, one-cost survivor event. Costs 1 XP, has a willpower pip, spirit traded, and fast. Play when an investigator at your location draws a non-weakness treachery card. Cancel that card's revelation effect, and then you have to exile a test of will. So an investigator.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't take the horror, you don't lose a clue.
I also want to point out that this is like a straight up nod to Lord of the Rings.
Oh, big time.
The art is similar. The name is the same. The effect is similar. And, okay, so the original Lord of the Rings flavor text is an Elrond quote. There is naught that you can do other than to resist with hope or without it. Scott, read us the flavor text here.
With or without hope, all you can do is resist.
It's wonderful!
And it even has the spirit trait. And the original card was the test of will from the spirit sphere. It's so good.
The amount of there's more fan nods in this than the Rogue One movie. Like,
oh, jeez.
The concentration is strong.
Yeah.
So, that being said, exile is a thing. You're essentially sinking in XP for this, but, given that you can kind of stop that treachery that ruins anyone at your location, that's probably okay.
Yeah, I see this as, like, the Seeker one, you throw away a clue. The Mystic one, you take a sanity. The Survivor one, you lose an XP.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially.
So, now remind me again, because I don't play Survivors, or I honestly haven't played with any exile cards, but when you exile it, it effectively removes it from your deck, and you can just repurchase it again with experience.
Correct.
Yep.
Right.
And if you choose not to repurchase it, like if you get to the end of the game, now you have a 28 card deck instead of 30 because you exiled, you can pay 0 XP to just put level 0 cards in if you want. You can fill up your deck for free.
Exile will remove it from the game, so it's not getting cycled back through when you reshuffle your discard pile?
Correct.
Okay.
It
cool.
just blips out of
You literally
existence.
take it out, put it in your collection box, but it's still there to buy it again. So.
Yeah, I love the flavor then. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think there would be a psychological difference, at least for me, of like Ward of Protection and even this other one, the Seeker version for Warned. It's kind of like you'll just cancel it if it seems, fairly harsh. But because of that exile, I think it'll give you an extra layer of pause. Like, is it worth the XP? Is this truly like a game-ending one? I think it'll add a second layer of decision there.
I think it's a harsher cost. I mean, clues you can always investigate for more. Sanity, you can always heal. Like, there's lots of ways in Mystic to heal. But there's a finite amount of XP in any scenario. And it's really costly. And even with Delve Too Deeps, I mean, there's only so many Delve Too Deeps you can play. Right? Like, it's...
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, but this pays for that with the fact that you can cancel any weakness, any treachery card drawn from anybody as long as it's at your location. So
I just look forward to when people are like, cancel this. Don't you have Test of Will? I'm like, no.
Or when everybody spends their last action on their turn getting back to Wendy's location so that when they draw the crappy treachery, they're fine.
Quick, hide behind the orphan.
And just more and more reasons not to split the party.
Yeah.
As if we needed them. Not to move us on, but I'm super excited to talk about Attorney Urkel here.
Oh, jeez.
He totally does look like Urkel.
Oh, well, that's never getting out of my mind now.
You're welcome.
All right, Nick, why don't you go ahead and read Attorney Urkel?
Sure. Charles Ross Esquire, Acquisitions and Solicitation is his subtitle. He is a 2-cost asset. He has 1 intellect skill icon. He has the traits Ally and Patron. His text reads, you may spend resources to pay for item assets played by other investigators at your location. For when seekers are swimming in resources. But he has the free action, Exhaust Charles Ross Esquire, reduce the cost of the next item asset played by an investigator at your location by 1. He has 1 health, 2 sanity, and takes up your ally slot.
And is a seeker card.
He's seeker, yeah. Which I mean, that was in the context earlier, but now I've been stated. I like what he's doing. And I like how he'll fit into some of the Dunwich investigators, specifically Jenny. But otherwise, how often are your seekers just, swimming in cash? Am I playing seeker wrong in that I'm not?
Well, Milan really helps.
Yeah.
Sure.
And once you get your upgraded magnifying glasses so they're free and fast.
Yeah, I have
I don't know.
2 different 2-handed campaigns, one with Skids and Daisy, obviously, and then the other with Rex and Zoe. And in both of them, both Rex and Daisy tend to be swimming resources a lot, mainly because of Milan, and they're just generating a ton. So those ones I could definitely see cases where, I'm looking for things to spend on because there's not, a ton of expensive cards in their setup. But on the other side, for the Guardian or Rogues, I could see there potentially being, items they could buy. Right. The issue is kind of the timing, because obviously this takes up an ally slot and so does Milan. So if you're using Milan to generate the resources, then either you have to kick out Milan to get this guy in later, or you're running Charisma by that point.
Which you should be running Charisma anyway, let's be honest.
Who's not running Charisma?
Right, but I guess for me, the thing is, whenever I had resources, I just power up higher education, just dump them into my stats and slide through the scenario like it was nothing. So I don't know. I think it's a good ability, but as far as I'm concerned, I have to see it in play simply because it is in that seeker class.
And I think this one, the important part is his free triggered ability there to reduce the cost of the next one by 1. And then the ability to pay for it out of your own resources is just kind of what makes it viable to somewhat build around, I guess.
But well, that's the thing, is that do you build around this guy, or do you...
Yeah.
Because if I have to build my deck around him, then I don't know, it's tough.
You want to be able to pop him every turn, right?
Right, you would love to do that. Yeah.
Are there enough items in, maybe this works in 4-player where for sure at least one person's gonna hit an item on the board, so you can pop him every turn. But
if you're playing with at least one other person and they're a guardian, this is good. And even solo Roland, I wouldn't run him, or solo Zoe, I wouldn't run him, because
if someone's just scavenging and throwing knives every turn.
he wants to play them, not ditch them for tests.
Well, right, but if you're throwing it and using the second ability on knife, you have to discard it and get it back.
That's what you mean when you
play
say
it down
throw
again.
It. Yep, I got you.
Yep.
Sure.
Although technically that's probably not a throw. That's more of just I'm going to bury this in, as opposed to a little slash.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if there's some kind of archetype in the future, particularly in 3 or 4 player, where someone plays the kind of Kane role from Eldritch Horror, if people are familiar with that, where they're just the item buyer and distributor. Someone just loads up on stuff that lets them generate resources and then uses this guy to help be a sugar daddy for everyone else.
Roland with teamwork and stand together. Yeah, no, it could be a thing.
Now, here's a question. Sidetrack a little bit. What class would Charlie Kane be if he were in this game?
Ooh.
I think he'd be rogue.
Probably.
Because he's a politician.
Because he's a politician. Yeah,
he
sure.
lies, he cheats.
Yeah, but he's pretty. His character is actually kind of benevolent as politicians go, isn't he?
Well, you can lie and cheat and be benevolent.
This is true.
Maybe he's a rogue and he can take Guardian cards.
He's like the Robin Hood of Congress.
So he'll be the good Skids?
Yeah. Exactly.
Poor Skids.
I actually like Skids, but yeah, that was... no, I just always saw him as a rogue, personally.
Yeah.
He'll probably be either rogue or guardian, I think.
He'll be a tough nut to crack. Like, if there's another neutral investigator, Lola's a nice precedent. Charlie might be an argument. But I think
For
rogue
neutral?
does fit.
Sure.
Yeah. It'll be just interesting, like, whether that will be... Like, because you have to make it fun to play, like... that when I'm running an Eldritch Horror sometimes, like, I'm controlling multiple people, playing solo, obviously, because that's kind of how you do it, and so I can run Charlie Kane and just run him as completely just not doing anything except for handing out stuff,
Right.
But... In this game, he'll have to actually be interesting for people to play, I think, while still keeping that theme.
Well, Attorney Urkel approves. He'll probably be part of that build.
Yeah, he'll definitely be around those parts. So the last one I'll keep for myself is the rogue card, and because it's super exciting. So this
How greedy of you.
So this is another patron ally. It's a 4-cost asset in the rogue class, of course. This is Dario Elamin. Unscrupulous Investor is his subtitle, has an intellect icon. In the text, while you have 10 or more resources, you get +1 will and +1 intellect.
Nice.
Action, if there are no enemies at your location, exhaust Dario Elamin, gain 2 resources, and he has 2 health and 2 sanity, and takes up the ally slot, of course.
So you're clicking for 2 resources instead of... No, just kidding. I'm not gonna do that.
So yeah,
How many times until Dario becomes worth it and the return on your investment?
Yeah.
so my argument for Ross Esquire being a Jenny ally, well, I think I'd rather have Dario in my Jenny deck than him, but oof. Good ally, I like him.
Jenny
10
spell build.
resources, though.
You can get up there pretty quick.
Yeah, you can.
If anyone's gonna do it, it's Jenny.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we have a good reason to play Hot
There
Streak,
you go.
right?
Yep.
So this one's interesting. I think I heard someone in our Discord who's also a Lord of the Rings player say that we got Test of Will and we've got Steward of Gondor.
Steward.
Yep.
Which
That was
I
me
see the
making a
comparison.
joke.
Yeah.
Oh, that was you. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I knew I wasn't crazy. Okay, so yeah. I mean,
Kind of.
it's definitely more balanced than
Yes.
Steward. Steward, see, the problem is Steward doesn't have an opportunity cost in taking an action.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
exhaust. I get things now.
And there's
This is
So this
less
is
of a concern of it going away, whereas this guy could
Mhm.
easily. So
yeah.
Kidnapped.
right.
Steward
And
is
Steward
ridiculously
paid-
broken, and this is not.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
And it
Also
pays for
important.
itself on its first turn. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
The one I'm actually most interested to try to get this working with is Skids. Now the problem with Skids is he likes to spend resources more than Jenny does. But if you could pull it off, maybe with some hot streaks, like getting that +1 will and the +1 intellect too, of course, but especially the +1 will would be so nice, especially if you pair it with a police badge.
Police
then
badge?
he's a
Yeah.
4 will investigator at that point.
Oh my god, then he can actually play the game like a normal person.
Ian, I like how you're
And then you can put shriveling. Oh,
I like how you're positing this deck that you're just this janky build for Skids to save resources just to get +1 will naturally. Like
yeah.
such a backdoor, like doing backflips and cartwheels just to make sure. All right, he's at
Yeah.
3 now.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Relic Hunter, double police badge.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
I see
Brother
this more as like
Xavier.
the whole Saiyan charge up in DBZ. Like He's sitting there, oh, resources, 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 and then he just explodes in energy, and he's got better stats.
Yeah.
He's at 900.
Yeah. No, he's still 3.
Yep.
I like this guy in Jenny, I think. Though, I don't know, I realize you can get to 10 resources with Jenny, but I'm wondering the value of spending 10 resources on other things versus saving it all just to get 2 static boosts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? That's where I'm questioning this. I like that he also helps you get up there with his action to gain 2 resources instead of 1. But yeah.
That's the thing.
Do you guys think this is a kind of a win more effect? Like, if you're in a
yeah.
position to be saving up that many resources, you're probably in a good spot anyway.
Well, and I think it's good that he's level 0, because I think that once you start spending experience, you have better ways to accomplish similar results in Rogue. Maybe not with Will, but with the whole resource thing. Like, I don't know, I'm just thinking about like a Jenny deck with Lone Wolf and Dario. You're netting 5 resources a turn, potentially. 3 to 5. So you can get up to 10 pretty quick, but Scott, you're right. There's a lot of other stuff you want to do with those resources other than just get +1 will, +1 intellect.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the thing is with Streetwise, generally, the intellect isn't really an issue, I've found. Jenny just kind of spends and passes those tests like crazy.
Yeah.
So really, you'd be in it for the will. And at that point, like, is it worth playing this guy compared to playing some other ally that's helping you in some other way? I don't know. I think I'm definitely going to have to try it out and see how it plays out.
Because I think if you want to compare it with Streetwise, especially, I mean, he costs 4 resources to get out, so there's 2 Streetwise uses, right? And then you have to save up 5 more Streetwise uses to get +1 and +1. Like, it just, I don't know. That's 7 Streetwise uses, and I'm just wondering how many times do you use Streetwise?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Versus,
that cost of 4 on him is rough. Like that, you have to use him twice to pay for that. So that's it's interesting.
No, 3 times, because you also have to take into account the click that you use to not use.
Shut
up, Sean. No one cares.
I was gonna make a joke about trying to come up with his click economy like ratio, but he's too wild. He's too crazy.
I got you, fam.
Yeah. Well, he really only nets 1 because you could just click for a resource to start. He just gets you 2. So
if there's no enemies.
No, we're not going any farther down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that if there's no enemies at your location, so not even engaged with you, just at your location in general.
Right.
So if there's a whippoorwill, Dario's too scared to give you money. He's like, shut up that bird, I'll give you a couple bucks. But
God, Dario's so demanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's unscrupulous. I think what I like about him and Urkel is that they, like, whether or not they turn out to be super strong or not, it does seem like the cards are getting a little bit more mechanically intricate in this cycle, and not in a bad way, not like too far in that direction, but with both of these, there's a lot more to chew on, I think, than a lot of the Dunwich allies in cards.
I think if this becomes maybe a bit of a theme with Rogue, where if you have 10 or more resources, you get X, or you can do Y or something like, and there's a 10 resource build, I think that would be amazing. And I'd be very interested in exploring that design, because I think that would be a super awesome caveat to turning on a deck. Like, get to 10 resources, now you're awesome, right? Like Sean was saying, the Super Saiyan thing.
Maybe that's the rogue investigator for Carcosa is going to have that as their printed ability. If you have 10 or more resources, get whatever.
Ooh.
Like, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Then I would use Dark.
In Lord of the Rings, there's a couple of cards which are 2 of the most broken cards. Blood of Numenor and Gondorian Fire, but basically you pay 1 resource and then you get boosted by the number of resources in your pool rather than like paying 1 for 1. So I'm not saying we're necessarily going to see that, but yeah, that would be interesting. I could see if we did get more cards that are, instead of spending resources in Rogue, it's like you get rewarded for being wealthy.
For banking them,
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we shall see. That was everything we got for this spoiler article, but it was a lot. It's definitely a lot to think about from now until then.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So, Scott, I believe you had some rules updates for us. I think we missed that last time. So, what you get?
Well, there was a giant rule update. Basically, the new FAQ came out.
Gasp.
There were a couple erratas. Ooh.
Where Doom awaits, where Doom awaits. No, I know. I've already looked at it. It's not there.
All it says is Screwshot.
Yeah, well, that's...
Yeah. So... so I guess the big one was the Lucky Dice. So the way Lucky Dice is written, it's really weird. And the way they wanted the Lucky Dice to work, they wanted to basically be, if you draw the tentacle, it stops Lucky Dice in its tracks. But the way it's written, you can actually get rid of Lucky Dice the first time. So, by chance, does anyone have Lucky Dice up? Because I heard typing. No? Okay.
Nope, but I can get it.
I got the
So
original.
I can read the errata. Is basically when you reveal...
Lucky Dice, am
Okay,
I just
go
reading
ahead.
the ability? Alright, reaction.
Yeah, just
after
the
you
ability.
reveal a chaos token, spend 2 resources. Ignore that chaos token and reveal another one to resolve. If that token has a tentacle symbol, remove Lucky Dice from the game.
Right. So now it's when you reveal a non-tentacle chaos token, spend 2 resources, blah blah blah. If that one has tentacle, you remove Lucky Dice from the game. Cannot be ignored / cancelled. So they're just reinforcing, I feel, the idea that the tentacle is the all-encompassing you lose token.
Which seems fair.
Yeah, and I'm totally down with that. The other one is Burned Ruins, which I think is in Undimensioned Unseen? Or no,
That's where Doom... No, that's Blood on the Altar.
Blood on the Altar. So it used to be... Burn on the Altar, slight spoiler here. The location used to have the little rounded arrow reaction ability, and it's after you fail a skill test while investigating the Burned Ruins, flip 1 clue token onto the Burned Ruins to its Doom side. That was meant to be forced, because if it's the little arrow thing, the reaction, you can choose not to trigger it.
Yeah, I
So
totally
people
never
like
noticed
distinction.
that.
Yeah, I know. And so
I did.
I think I played it as forced, because in my brain, I'm like, that totally makes sense. But... And then the last big one was... Oh, sorry. There was also, in Blood on the Altar, the resolution section, there was a certain way, if you had rescued certain people but not other people and got a certain resolution, you could end up in an infinite loop in the resolution section. So they just threw a bullet point in there.
Oh boy.
So, and I think the email in the rules chat came back, and Matt's like, I intended you to get lost in time and space in the last pack, not in the
I
resolution
love
of
the
Blood on
idea
the
that
Altar.
there's somebody still writing everything down in his campaign log, because it's like, it just keeps telling me to. I have a job, I have a wife, I have a kid. Let me be done.
He's like locking the hatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay, so the last one is they kind of reversed the ruling on the wild skill symbols, so the question mark. You guys remember Essex County Express, where it said you had to discard 2 willpower pips, and the ruling came out that it had to be willpower pips, it couldn't be wild pips, because they were their own specific one. That's been reversed. So wild can be any pip at any time, just when you're using it, you have to declare at that point what it is. The kind of reason behind this ruling was, Matt said, basically it feels unintuitive. The intuitive way of thinking of a wild icon is it can be any icon, right? And I think a lot of people played it that way, myself included. And he said that just makes a lot more sense. It's going to stop a lot of questions in the future. So wild is wild. So, yeah, those are the big FAQ updates. There's a couple little small ones, but more just clarifications and stuff. But those are the big ones.
All right, sounds good. Well, I think that leads us into the meat of the episode today, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna do a deck build, and I at least tried to be a little secretive just to make these guys think on their feet about what the deck was going to be. But Nick beat it out of me before the episode, so he has a slight advantage in. So we're gonna build a Dark Horse deck tonight. Now, I am completely up in the air as to who we put this card in, though. So do you guys have any thoughts on any investigators you'd like to try with Dark Horse, or what you'd like to try out?
Jim? No?
I just don't want to build a gym deck. I'm so sorry.
Sad trumpet.
Oh, Dark Jim's fun.
I mean,
but I've already built that deck, so...
I'm open to it.
Not damn it to Scott.
Yeah, it should be something different. Like, I've built a ton of
Dark Horse
Windy,
Jenny.
So it should be something...
Dark Horse Jenny.
You're
fighting with
There
yourself.
has been someone in the Discord experimenting with it, so that's...
Yeah, with a hired muscle.
Oh, yeah, that's
Right.
right.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
because she rebounds from the Dark Horse turns faster than anyone else. I'm just saying.
Who else could do Dark Horse? Zoe?
Rex.
Zoe Dark Horse? Rex Dark Horse?
Zoe Dark Horse would be interesting because Guardians already have a hard time keeping resources on the table.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that at all.
Chat, if you have any input.
I feel like that deck would be bad.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I think it would just be a regular Guardian deck.
yeah. And when you're broke, you're just
right,
slightly
exactly.
better.
Which would be every other turn.
Yeah. I feel like if you got a machete turn 1, it would probably be okay. But, yeah.
So, Jenny?
Ooh.
Okay, so just to be clear, any of the Dunwich investigators could potentially take Dark Horse, Agnes, or Wendy. Do you guys want to... I know it might seem like I was trying to lead the conversation this way from the beginning. I promise that's not the case. Do you guys want to try like a Survivor-bent Dark Agnes build?
I knew you wanted to do that! I knew it!
Has anyone tried it yet? Is it a thing?
You know what?
Have not tried it, no.
I think I'm for that because I think that the whole forbidden knowledge thing, the titrating of resources,
With
the only thing
Fire
is,
Axe?
Yeah.
I think it could be a thing!
The best part of Agnes is that she has survivor cards. Like, that is the best thing. So, I mean... there you go.
I mean, sure, I guess. The investigator I have the least experience with.
Well,
there you go. We're going to give you a good deck for it.
Yeah, right,
Well,
yeah.
what do we want to do?
Overpowering rats worked so well.
How about Dark Zoe?
Yeah.
I think Dark Zoe would be interesting.
But you know what?
I mean, because her reaction's optional.
I would say at the same time, Dark Zoe might work too well. So I'm Dark Agnes. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Chat, any input? It's been awfully quiet, guys. There's at least 8 of you.
I mean...
7 of you.
Is there a sports ball game on and people just have us on in the background, I feel?
Maybe.
That could be a thing.
Maybe.
Now's your chance.
Oh, we got some
Let's see who's
takers!
People are typing. This could decide everything. Oh,
They're just gonna come back and say, nope, sorry, I can't help
Well, Josh votes for Dagnus.
you. Dagnus.
Dagnus.
So we might do
Well, at least we have a deck name
Dagnus
now.
instead of Dowie. Oh, Dowie sounds fun.
Dowie is amazing.
Switchblade Zoe. That's, well, yeah. Dankness.
Dagnus. All right,
So-
screw it. All right, we're doing Agnes.
Okay. I was going to say, are we totally against doing Dark Duke? Because that's
Dukeness.
also a soup. Yeah.
I feel like Duke and
Wendy
I
build
feel like
themselves?
Duke and Wendy were the first ones that people sprung
Well,
to,
yeah.
though.
Yeah, fair enough.
I want to try something a little out there. Something
Okay,
that's like so crazy it might just work.
So you want to go with a survivor swing to Agnes, so that means we're doing less spells right out of the gate, right?
Well, we'll probably keep the low cost ones in. I mean, okay, so let's talk really quickly here. What do you guys feel are the important effects of a Dark Horse build on
having
your build?
No resources? Next question.
+1 to all your stats.
Sorry, what do you do to your build to compensate for those things?
Oh, play expensive cards every turn. I don't know.
think
I've
you
never
actually
played
have a couple expensive cards, and then you keep your curve super low, so that if you do draw a 1-cost card, you actually do take the resource.
Yeah, you have to run a fairly simplified setup. Like, you can't be relying on like a 5-6 card like setup. You need to be able to like get things going with just a few cards.
So where do you want to center your cost curve?
Right. Yeah. And you have to give yourself ways to quickly get rid of resources in a variety of ways, ideally, so that when you need to, you can activate Dark Horse.
So, point of interest.
Okay.
I just now realized that Dark Horse gives you the option to not take resources. So, yeah.
Oh, that's important.
That's very
That is
important.
kind of important.
Here I thought that it was just, I didn't see that line first. So, okay, yep.
Okay, so we'll start in on the build. We've got the heirloom of Hyperborea, and Dark Memory, of course. So
How about 2 copies of Dark Horse?
Oh, you know what? You're reading my mind tonight, Scott.
Okay,
guys, we could call the deck Horse Memory.
All right, well, it's the best we got so far. So then, do I think Fire Axe and Forbidden Knowledge probably key pieces here too?
Yeah, I think those are combo pieces.
They allow you. I mean, they're good by themselves in a normal Agnes build, but Fire Axe is important because it lets you spend down as you need to, and then Forbidden Knowledge can help you rebound when you need to get to a couple resources.
Right.
Okay.
It also helps with her ability, right?
Yeah.
Just that synergy.
Oh, apparently Mythos Busters only has 1 core set.
Fixed. Collectively.
Okay. Any other standouts you guys think are worth including? I'm looking at ritual candles. What do you guys think about that?
Ritual candles? What do those do?
Yeah.
It's cheap, and if we're kind of relying on kind of ancillary effects to give us bonuses, I feel like it's not a terrible, maybe a one-off.
Takes up a hand.
I'd say it does.
That's all I got.
I'd say throw 2 in and we can always cut it.
Sure.
But I mean, like, I'm the guy that builds like a 45-card deck.
I'm trying to do the discipline thing where I'm like, okay, build the skeleton, then fill out with the muscles. But no, we're gonna go Bender style here.
Just throw it all in there.
All right. Is shriveling too expensive, you think? Or you think that's still worth... I think it's still worth having in there, personally.
I think you need to have it.
Yeah, it's still a core card
offense
for her.
Okay. I really like Drawn to the Flame, because it's 0 cost, and that.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll pop those in. Do you guys think this build would benefit at all from... leveling up into Blood Pact?
Blood Pact, hey? I'm kind of torn because I just don't like the card.
Yeah.
Well, now that Moonlight Ritual's out, it's not quite so bad. And again, this is all doing stuff without resources, which I think, which is why I bring it up.
That's the big advantage of Blood Pact here.
I mean, maybe. So are the reason you were asking because of Delve Too Deep?
Well, no. Well, I mean, Delve Too Deep's going in here, guys. I'm sorry, that's what's happening. I ask because if we're gonna move into Blood Pact, then Moonlight Ritual might not be a bad thing to add.
Right away?
Hmm.
Well, it saves you the experience from swapping it out later.
True, but what would you be using it on game 1 or game 2?
Icons.
Oh, that's true, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
The icons are
Can we
pretty good on it.
I'm not convinced it's the right play. I'm just bringing it up as an option.
Can we come back to it?
Yes.
To see what the rest of our deck fleshes
The fact
out to
that
be?
Scott
Alright,
said
so-
we'll come back to it and not add it and we'll cut it later, like, that tells me that he's not a fan of it.
He's just trying to distract
Right.
us.
That's
So we
the
forget about
Canadian
it.
no.
Hey guys, look over here.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and assume we pop in 2 lucky.
Yeah. Duh.
Yeah.
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 For...
Quiche.
Yes. Wait.
Okay.
Maybe...
The reason
I think you need the burst, because if you're starting at 0 or 1 and you want to actually play something that costs, 2, 3, then
But
you
I
need
thought
it.
we wanted...
Yeah,
Okay.
I found it pretty useful in Dark Horse, just because, like, oh crap, I drew my 4-coster, let me play Emergency Quiche, play it, and then back down.
Okay.
All right. Let's look at the ally slot. Let's maybe start there for a second. So what are we thinking for allies in this one? Do we just go Pete? Do we go Arcane Initiate because she's cheap? I don't know how many spells we're going to be running.
Pete's pretty good. I mean, he is quicheable, which is
Pete
nice.
is pretty good.
Teachable Pete.
and
Quicheable.
Quicheable
Yeah.
Pete. And he also enables the whole painkillers loop with Agnes that is also non-resource intensive.
Yeah, I think we gotta go Pete.
Seems
Yep.
like we're putting in a lot of resource setup for our non-resource build.
Well, I don't think you can go completely 0 cost.
No, but
I'm
I
just trying
mean,
to keep
like,
it cheap.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Nick. It's like, if we're thinking about the ideal first turn is what? Like, Dark Horse, obviously, which is 3 cost. And then...
I think Dark Horse, click for a resource, Pete Sylvester might be...
Right, and then that
Or-
gets you down.
yeah.
At some point, you're going to need Fire Axe and Shrivel.
Right. There's a lot of setup to make this. It feels like we're like, and this is coming from someone who's played Agnes all of one game, but it feels like we're just making it harder to do what she's already good at, which is using will to replace everything. You know what I mean?
I kind of agree with you.
So
No,
Yeah.
but she's going to get good at fighting the regular way too, right? Yeah?
after
Right?
like 4 turns and constant struggle of going, do I get a resource so I can play this, or do I not? But if I didn't, it feels like there's a lot, like we're giving ourselves extra hoops. So,
Sure. Well, I'm not arguing that this is going to be the most efficient Agnes build ever. I just want to see if it works.
well, define work.
So,
I mean, it'll function, but
gets through where
no,
Google
it's
waits.
not going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
I think you go one of 2 directions. Either you go with Peter, which is probably what I'm leaning towards despite the expense, or you have to lean towards like some disposable allies.
See, and I'm much more...
like the Initiate,
Yeah.
maybe even Stray Cats to get some guaranteed evades.
I'm more in
It'd
the...
be one of those 2
Like, have a
directions.
couple of 3 or 4 cost cards, like maybe 2 or 3 of each, or 2 or 3 total, and then just fill it full of skills and 1 cost events and stuff like that.
Well, that's what we're at now, because Shriveling is 3, Pete is 3, Dark Horse is 3.
yeah, and I think
And-
that's where
but-
we stop.
But we've got
Everything-
yeah,
everything-
6 of those.
Right.
Yeah, but that's like everything else is 1 to
Okay.
0 now.
All right.
Mhm.
I just wanted to get that out there, but we'll see where we go.
Yeah.
Moonlight Ritual was a maybe. Let me pull that out real quick.
I think that's too much
I think it
jank.
is too. I think we already have sufficient jank.
Even I will admit it. Okay.
Okay.
So, another thing we need to probably clarify. I probably should have asked this at the beginning. Are we intending this to be a solo build that can investigate and get clues, or is this kind of monster killer Dark Horse with a couple of clue gathering things?
I like solo.
I always build my decks solo.
I used to.
Simply, I build my deck solo from that's my baseline, because even in a multiplayer game, I'm gonna want to be able to investigate. I'm gonna want to be able to do the solo, the stuff normally, because you can't always. So that's my take on it. Is that every deck should be able to generalize to some degree.
Okay. All right, so that being said, so far Drawn to the Flame is the only clue acquisition card we have in. What else do you guys think would work here?
Look what I found.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about... I mean, there's always flashlight, but newspaper?
Newspaper? All right.
The only thing about Look What I Found is that it's 2 cost.
That is,
but it gives you 2 intellect icons, so even if you don't play it, you can just ditch it.
Right.
Whereas newspaper gives you 1,
it
costs 1, it takes up a hand slot, and it's conditional. So once you find that first clue, newspaper is just a used hand slot. Although Josh is saying it's.
And I feel like when you're heading into. Yeah, so I feel like when you're heading into a turn, you kind of generally know whether you're getting that resource or not, and say you're heading into a turn where you're going to investigate, you can get the resource, take an action for another, investigate, hopefully then play the Look What I Found to be back at 0 for whatever else you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a valid include, even if it is a little bit above the curve that we want in general.
2 Look What I Founds?
And
yep.
How many newspapers? 1 or 2?
Okay, so let's talk newspaper versus flashlight.
Well, flashlight costs 2, correct?
It does.
I mean, I like flashlight in that if you're at a 2 shroud or less location, you pretty much guarantee success.
Mm-hmm.
It has 3 charges that you can use whenever you want. Newspaper is that conditional. I don't know.
So right now, I'm feeling like, since we want this Agnes to be able to investigate, I want to drop these ritual candles and throw in
I'm
flashlights.
fine with that.
That's what
throw in flash. I thought you were going to say newspapers. Yeah, flashlights are good too, though.
Okay.
So we're dropping. Okay, so we're getting rid of candles and using flashlights.
Yep.
I feel like that's thematic, is what I'm trying.
Yeah, I guess. And see, my big concern about the whole hand slot thing, that's coming from a Guardian player. And Agnes,
sure.
Other than flashlights and newspaper, what else is she holding? Another flashlight? So.
Right. Okay, so another thing that I've been kind of curious about, and I only have 1 or 2 Dark Horse builds under my belt, and I'm not very far into either of those campaigns. Do you guys include the talent, the spending talent skills as another way to get down to 0, or do you just not bother with those at all?
Well, the thing with Windy is I didn't, because I knew that one of my early buys was going to be Scrapper, which was just going to have it in play from the beginning, which made it very useful.
Sure.
Obviously, that's not applicable here. So,
I could see one. I think we've learned from Where Doom Awaits that arcane studies might be okay in Agnes if she's going to be going solo and needs to once in a while investigate well, in the normal sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see 1 copy of Arcane Studies. I think two.
Yeah, my experience with Dark Horse is you do, unless you're going to trigger the Dark Horse ability to not collect resources a lot, you do need a variety of ways to get rid of them. We have Fire Axe to get rid of combat, but the intellect and willpower, Arcane Studies gives really easy ways to get rid of resources, in my opinion. I kind of feel like you have to...
I'll hit a 1 of on that.
Yeah, I could actually see 2.
You want to go 2? Okay.
I think so. I mean, it does have good icons. Yeah.
All right. So since we decided to go Pete, I wanna just toss in, and we can cut them later if we want. I want to toss in 1 copy each of Smoking Pipe and Painkillers, because Agnes likes both of them, particularly Painkillers with Pete. And if you don't find them, great. They're cheap. But they can enable some really fun combos once you get them down.
Sure.
Okay. So where we're sitting right now, we're at 24 cards. We got 16 assets, 8 events, and we've yet to touch any skills.
Yep.
Maybe we should get some skills.
Yep. Obviously, we're going to be doing some cutting, but yeah, that's where we're at.
So I'm going to go ahead and pop into Unexpected Courage. I'm going to go ahead and assume that's okay with everybody.
Yep.
I'd just like to point out at this point, we've achieved the Holy Trinity.
We haven't got
saying
it. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's there.
Perception is a must.
Yeah.
Yep, agree.
2 of or
2
Yeah,
of,
I'm gonna go 2.
Yeah.
I feel like with Fire Axe, she's not gonna need an overpower, really, because she's either gonna have Shriveling or Fire Axe to get to where she needs to be.
No.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if she sits at 1, with assuming we have Dark Horse down, which she may or may not, she's gonna get to 5 by spending 1 resource off of Fire Axe, as long as she spends down to 0. So that's pretty solid. Manual Dexterity, I feel like she'll be at a 4 or 5 once Pete's down, if Dark Horse is down as well, so I don't feel like that's huge. So, Guts, Defiance, Fearless?
I could see. Is Defiance the healing one? It is, hey?
Yep.
No,
No,
Fearless.
Fearless is the healing one.
Or Fearless.
Yeah, Defiance is the one where you pick a token.
I like Fearless.
Okay.
I think. Just because, if we're going to be doing the Forbidden Knowledge and every other Agnes thing,
Right. Yeah, it
could be useful.
I'd probably go Fearless.
Okay.
And
1 or 2
And
up.
now, probably 2.
Probably 2.
You think 2?
Okay, so here's my question then. Like, we also have a lot of ways to heal her. Her sanity. Are we going to put in Guts simply because Guts is basically a cantrip?
See, here's my thing, is we're building this, we've only got 1 spell in here, guys. We've got Shriveling.
Yeah.
So outside, so that's the only thing we're going to be triggering her willpower on, which is important for sure, but it's not like, this isn't the
really
spell-heavy build.
Doesn't Forbidden Knowledge
So I
do that, or no? Am I thinking of...
Nope.
Oh, no. Okay, never mind.
You're thinking of
take 1
Threat
horror.
of Seeking, maybe?
Exhaust Forbidden Knowledge, take 1 horror.
Oh, yeah. It gives you horror. Sorry, I was talking about we're only triggering her willpower off of Shriveling.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right.
As opposed to... So, 1 Guts, 1 Fearless, and we'll see how we go from there.
I'm thinking maybe even just 1 Fearless.
And skip the Guts?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Or Ian's bemoaning that decision, I think. Okay,
Ian, you just play too much Skids. It's okay.
It physically pains me. I'm just wondering if it's a way of, like, even if we chuck it to a test, we're going to pass of, like, trying to get down to other stuff more quickly.
I'm okay with 1 Guts.
I don't know. Yeah.
The other one there.
So
Fearless.
1 Guts, 1 Fearless for now?
Yeah.
Okay. We can always add or subtract later. So then I think the last thing we want to look at is events. I think we're kind of covered. The only thing that's yet to be added is Delve Too Deep, so I'll just go ahead and pop 2 of those in there.
So one question I have about events: do we want what's it called? Ward of Protection. It's going to be hard to pull off. That's
true. Yeah, that is a really good question. I think this is okay though. I think you can just play around this when you have it in your hand, and you just elect to get the resource when you have this in your hand, so that you have the option. I'm fine with it.
So 2 wards.
I think
Unless there's
so.
any dissent.
I think so. It just gives you another way, potentially, even if you cancel some dumb treachery, if you really need to get down, you could, potentially.
It's another way to trigger her ability in a different phase as well.
Yeah.
If you're fighting a big enemy.
Yep.
Has lots
Agreed.
of things going for it.
Okay. So double ward, double delve.
Double ward, double delve.
Okay, last card, I'm just gonna, because I totally forgot to mention this. Leather coat. 0 cost.
That's appealing, but we're already at a pretty fat deck.
We're only at 34. Where's your sense of adventure, Nick?
Still gotta end at 30.
You gotta live till you've broken 40.
Yeah, so far the only way we have to deal with, getting an influx of damage is we've got 1 painkillers. So, I don't think it would be a terrible thing to have a copy or 2 of Leathercoat.
I mean, I'm okay with 1 copy.
Alright, let's go with that. Alright, so we're at 35 cards. We gotta make some cuts here. Okay, so...
Delve too deep, gone.
Heresy.
Should we quickly run down our list so that people listening along can see where we're at?
Yeah, okay, so far, our assets are 2 Fire Axe, 2 Flashlight, 2 Shriveling, 1 Leather Coat, 2 Peter Sylvester, 2 Arcane Studies, 2 Dark Horse, 2 Forbidden Knowledge, 1 Painkillers, 1 Smoking Pipe. Our events are 2 Look What I Found, 2 Delve Too Deep, 2 Drawn to the Flame, 2 Quiche, 2 Lucky, 2 Wards of Protection, and then 6 skills. We got 1 Fearless, 1 Guts, 2 Perception, 2 Unexpected Courage. So
we need to cut, 5 cards?
Yep. So let me look at the... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, the first thing that I've been doing lately when I've been building decks is, for considering what to cut, is I look at my one-ofs, because those are the ones I was uncertain about anyway, or the ones that I felt I didn't need consistency with. So I look at my one-ofs and I go, which of these can this deck live without?
Yeah.
I feel like we can do without the Fearless. I think between Peter and Smoking Pipe, we're going to be okay.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm fine cutting it.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's a one-time heal 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you win.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is when we have 1 spell in the deck, like, we're counting on the encounter deck to make us test willpower to use that.
True.
Which happens, for sure.
Yeah,
but
it does.
it is, you're kind of holding it in your hand, waiting for it for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay. God, our cost curve is so tight. Oh, this is a thing of beauty. Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at our charts on ArkhamDB.
I was doing something similar.
We have 0 agility icons in the deck.
That's a problem.
I just wanted to point that out real quick here.
Yeah, that I mentioned it on a previous cost, but that's actually something that I've paid more and more attention to is the icon spread, which initially I kind of flew by the seat of my pants a lot more, and since I've done that, I feel like I've seen a positive difference. So that's a very handy thing if you use ArkhamDB to quickly just look at the chart and be like, oh, I have no agility icons, or I'm low on this or that.
Well, she's looking at anywhere between 3 and 5 for just static agility.
That's what I was going to say, too. I mean, between Pete and Dark Horse.
Right.
She's just going to have trouble in Essex is really all. Although she's got a fair few wilds, so I guess there's that.
Or she could just eat the horror or whatever that location does.
I mean, because if we step back, take a big
deck
picture
name,
look...
Eat the Horror.
Eat the horror.
Horse memory.
Horror buffet. What she's doing is basically either killing with Fire Axe, Shriveling, or her ability, and then she's investigating with either the variety of tricks plus Dark Horse. She's not going to be evading a ton.
Yeah, I think we're pretty safe without it. Her native evade is going to be, 4 when we get either of Dark Horse or Peter out, and that's pretty okay.
And I mean, we like you said, we do have 6 wild icons in there. Mm-hmm. So if we do really need to balance it up.
Okay. So, I think we have 4 cards to cut still.
Do we want
kind of
both
okay.
painkillers and
Go
smoking
ahead,
pipe? Do we want both of those?
I do, but I could be talked out of it.
I like painkillers.
Okay.
Smoking pipe, I'm iffy on.
Okay.
Because I feel like I don't want to. The times you're going to use smoking pipe is few and far between versus painkillers because you have so many horror sinks.
That's true. Okay, I'll drop the pipe.
Okay, so I'm gonna present a crazy idea to you guys.
Okay.
What if we went down to one emergency quiche?
Woof.
That's what I was thinking too, actually.
Because I mean, I like that we do. Sometimes you need that big burst, but we have kept our curve super low, and we have 2 forbidden knowledge.
Yeah, I think she's gonna be fine outside of those first couple. It'll suck when you draw like your first shriveling copy on turn 7, but outside of that, I think we're okay having less resource generation.
All right, it'll be a first for me, but we'll cut it. I think that between flashlight, look what I found, drawn to the flame, and 2 perceptions, I think we've got a decent amount of investigating. I think we can lose 1 arcane studies.
Would arcane studies be the better one, or would one of our other tools be better? Because the whole argument with arcane studies was that it was a resource sink in the potential that we needed it.
Yeah, so really, I guess arcane studies is nice in that if you're sitting at 1 resource and you already have this on the board, you can spend 1 and effectively get 2.
Sure.
Okay, assuming Dark Horse is down.
Right.
Although, in all my Dark Horse builds, I'll be honest, it has a very high rate of not ever fucking showing up.
Yeah, it does that.
Okay, so, alright, so I think the ultimate problem here is I think we're a little flush on investigating tools. What do you guys think is the weakest link here?
That's what I was going to say.
Well, so we've got flashlight, look what I found, drawn to the flame, perception, and arcane studies are all kind of going toward our ability to investigate.
I kind of think 1, look what I found, actually, could go away.
Okay.
I would agree.
I feel like it's the least reliable, and perception ends up if you're investigating an easy location, it can just be a cantrip or another card draw.
Yeah, I was kind of debating. I was looking at both Look What I Found and Flashlight, simply because, like, Look What I Found grabs 2 clues, or it gives you 2 intellect icons, which I love both of that. Whereas Flashlight, I mean, Flashlight lowers Shroud, which can be a big thing later on in the campaign, but early on.
And I think by that reasoning we're pretty okay because we have more intellect icons in this deck than any other icon. So I think we're safe to lose a Look What I Found.
Okay. All right, that
puts us at 31, boys.
I will say though, if you're playing in a multiplayer game like 3 or 4 player, I think I'd go back up to 2. Look what I found.
Sure.
Because you're probably going to get that efficiency. But
sure.
Yeah, that's the thing is that it's that double clue grab that's really big.
Yeah, because it's often inefficient in solo. But yeah.
So then what if we just ditch
There's also the... I don't know, having the double skill icons is nice for the hypothetical scenario where you just need to pass investigate test straight up. I don't know if we care about that or not, but
I do.
That's the only thing that gives me pause about getting rid of it.
Yeah.
But in that case, Ian, and the counterpoint that I would say as opposed to dropping, like, say, Arcane Studies, like, if you're sitting at 1 resource and you Arcane Studies, you're going to get 2 icons effectively for 1 resource. But yeah, I suppose it's not quite the same thing because you're just chucking for free.
Right. And again, you're... Oh, yeah. I don't know.
I still kind of like the idea of finding space for newspaper, but then I'm introducing a new card into when we're trying to cut cards.
Do we want to drop one flashlight and put in one newspaper, and then we can just decide which one pulled more weight?
We already have 2 newspapers in here, don't we?
Nope.
No,
We
we
have
have
one?
none right now.
No, we never added those.
Oh, yeah, you're okay. Let me take those out.
We talked about it a lot.
I just assumed. Okay.
Okay, so, God, what do we need? I'm looking at leather coat. I'm looking at painkillers, though. God, painkillers with Peter, though, is just so good.
Mm-hmm.
Forbidden knowledge definitely stays.
Yes.
It's gonna pain me, but I think I'm okay going down to 1 delve too deep.
I mean, well... Oh.
I know, it's pain. It's pain. I don't know what else we dropped, though. Because delve too deep is awesome, but it's not actively doing anything itself.
Yeah.
Right. It's your win more card.
Yeah. Okay, 1 delve.
I know.
Hey, you know what? I dropped an emergency quiche, so we all have to take hits here.
And I'm not playing Roland, so...
Yeah.
All right, so that hits 30.
Let's build Dark Horse Roland.
Dark Horse Roland. Yeah, I'm sure that's a thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Could you give him Dark Horse with teamwork?
No. Has to be an item.
It's only items and resources.
Items,
you can't give someone an aspect of your personality. Damn it.
Correct.
Okay, so that 30 by my count. So we've got 2 fire axe, 1 flashlight, 1 newspaper, 2 shriveling, 1 leather coat, 2 Peter Sylvesters, 2 arcane studies, 2 dark horse, 2 forbidden knowledge, 1 painkillers, 1 liquid I found, 1 delve too deep, 1 drawn to the flame, 1 quiche, 2 lucky, 2 wards of protection, 1 guts, 2 perception, and 2 unexpected courage. All right, what horse memory is what I've heard the most.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll go ahead and save that out there. What do you guys think for first upgrades? What are we gonna want?
Ooh, that is a good question.
This was hard enough for me. I don't even know. Book of Shadows, done.
That's a great way to never see any of your shrivelings.
Well, the hard part is a lot of the upgrades I like in Mystic are on the costlier side.
Yes.
So
I feel like
Lucky?
grotesque statue's not terrible. Yeah, luckies are always a good call.
Yeah.
How awesome will it be when we get an upgraded forbidden knowledge, guys? I'm waiting for the day.
What about Stroke of Luck? It's probably a good upgrade.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
yeah, it's a good card.
Probably more on the survivor side than anything, because most of the mystic upgrades
Yes.
are spendy.
I mean, you could probably, instead of a Guts, put in an upgraded Fearless.
Sure,
Yeah.
that seems
yeah.
pretty okay.
Flare's not bad to try to grab Pete in a pinch. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also good as just a 1-cost attack.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Well, I'll go ahead when we release this episode. I'll make sure that we post this deck and link it. At least we'll link to the episode in the deck. I'm not sure if we're going to get ambitious enough to have Nick link to the deck in the episode as well. But if you go out to ArkhamDB and search Horse Memory, you'll find it. Or just the Mythos Busters account, which now has 2 decks. Yay!
Hooray! One is slightly better than the other. I think.
I mean, you know what, though? Overpowering Rats, totally playable as long as the first upgrade you buy is higher education.
It's true.
As long as the first card you buy is the necessary card for Daisy.
Yep.
As long as you can make it through the first scenario.
Yeah.
And get 3 XP.
That card
Yes.
should just be renamed Air Freshener because it can just remove the stink from a lot of decks once you include it.
All right. Well, I'm excited to try that one out. So I guess I'll report back next time if any of you guys are going to try it out. We'll reconvene at the top of next episode and see how it plays. I have a feeling it's going to be pretty okay. I think.
Yeah. I think I'm going to play this with them. Play with this one.
What are you I'm taking this two-handed for sure. What are you going to pair it with?
I'm going solo.
Yeah, I was say, didn't we just say that it should work solo?
Well, yeah, it should work. Didn't we just?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I covered that. Solo is dead to me now.
Yeah. Well, some of us just don't cheat, Sean. So.
Oh, wait, what? Two-handed's cheating?
Yeah.
How many
What
players
about peril
are there,
cards? Sean, how do you deal with peril?
I basically I lay my other deck's hand, or I lay the other deck's hand face down, and there's a little bit of jankery, but I'm pretty sure
That's
you know
fair.
what your deck would pick.
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah, I usually pick
it's
what
not
would
fair.
most benefit whoever drew it, as I would do in real life.
You rogue, you.
On a complete aside, I've heard that if you're playing with like 4 or 3 people you've never met or whatever, early in the game pick skills, late in the game pick assets.
Yep.
Yeah.
And never pick events. Seems to be a good rule of thumb.
Yep.
Yeah,
I would agree to that.
only pick assets early if you just want to like get punched in the face.
Grief deck. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's probably good to roll us on into tentacle time. Scott, what's grabbing you?
Oh man, my kid. I'm trying to think of what gaming I've done recently that wasn't Arkham, and even Arkham has been minimal. I honestly have nothing. Come back to me, actually. Let me think.
Oh, jeez.
I have a lot of family staying with me, so yeah, that's how much gaming time I've had. I can't even think of a game.
Fair enough. Ian, how about you?
Well, I have been playing Arkham a ton, so anytime I've thought about playing other games, I've actually just played Arkham, which shows a lot about how much I'm enjoying the game at the moment. Particularly,
That's a good sign.
Particularly Dark Windy is a lot of fun, that campaign. But other than that, while a few episodes back I talked about how I was trying to catch up on shows that I've been meaning to watch and haven't. So I had watched True Detective Season 1, and now I finally watched Daredevil, both Seasons 1 and 2 actually. After not watching it for a while and hearing good things, I finally got around to watching those 2 seasons.
Daredevil Season 1 is so good.
It is.
So good. And I watched, I think I made it through the Punisher storyline on Season 2, and then for some reason I got interrupted and haven't gone back.
Well, that would be to the end, so...
Oh, really? Oh, never mind.
He keeps going, yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah,
well, I thought it was
depends
done.
on what part of the Punisher storyline, but yeah. But yeah,
Cool.
It was a good show. If you're interested in that sort of thing, I definitely recommend it. And
It was way grittier than I expected.
oh, for sure,
There are some really gut-wrenching parts.
for sure. That's what I was mentioning on Discord afterwards because I had watched. I don't remember. I think I watched True Detective first and then Daredevil. And I was like, I'm kind of depressed now. I need a show to watch now. That's very lighthearted because that's kind of a rough go of like 2 shows that kind of have a more nihilistic view of humanity.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, but definitely a good watch for sure.
I was
Definitely.
scrolling through my Facebook memories the other day, and I saw a post that I made about Daredevil Season 1, where I said that Daredevil Season 1 is the best Batman-related thing that came out in the last, 10 years. Because it pretty much is exactly what I would want a Batman thing to be, but it's Daredevil, so cool.
Yeah, and the villain was a great character.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
The actor who was playing Kingpin Fisk was just... I don't
Vincent
know.
D'Onofrio.
It actually threw me at first because it wasn't what I immediately imagined, and then it was just like it grew on me, and then I just started realizing like the season is as much about him as it is about Daredevil.
Oh yeah.
Like it's basically tracing both of their stories, and it's not like it doesn't do the like immediate like, oh, this villain is such a badass and like evil, and this is what they're gonna do. Like, he does do some messed up stuff, of course, but it's kind of, I guess it gives you that contrast in that character, which is really cool.
And I would
And I
argue...
thought the characterization was interesting because, Kingpin, at least in the comics and shows that I watched, was just kind of your standard crime lord. But D'Onofrio's it was way more like emotionally disturbed and almost kind of fragile at some point.
Yeah, totally. It's
more depth to the character.
I recently ran a one-shot D&D session, my first time DMing, and I was like, I totally just stole Wilson Fisk for my main villain, like doing his voice and personality and everything, like a big old barbarian Wilson Fisk version. So yeah.
I would argue that the Kingpin from Daredevil Season 1 is better than any of the villains in Marvel's Phase 2 films.
What does Phase 2 cover?
Phase 2 was Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy. It was...
Ronan was so bloody
Could have been
one-dimensional.
anybody,
It's my biggest criticism of that otherwise great movie.
Better than Ultron from Avengers 2. Better than whatever the guy's name, Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man. Although that, all these movies had entertaining encounters with the villains, but overall the villains themselves were, you could have popped in any villain and it would have been, for the most part, the same story. So, and also,
yeah, it's nice that the serials kind of have more time to take to actually give the villains a little bit more depth.
Right, you can give them a whole big arc for themselves.
And not only that, but then Daredevil Season 1, the story with Fisk was so good, and that whole conflict between the two of them was so good, and then Season 2 couldn't really deliver on that. Like, it couldn't meet up to that standard. Even though we had the Punisher and we had Elektra, it was like, Season 2 felt like it was trying to do too many things.
Yeah, I like Season 2 a lot. Definitely wasn't a bad season, but it did fall into that trap that sometimes superhero movie sequels do, and shows where they start trying to throw in too many characters at once. Yeah, it's like, here's Punisher and here's Elektra.
Like Spider-Man 3.
It handled it better than Spidey 3, but...
Yeah, it's definitely not at that level of horribleness. But to some degree, the story's always going to be better when it has that tight focus that Season 1 did, where it's just like you really dig into those two characters. But yeah.
Nice. Scott, you ready yet?
Yeah. So one thing is our book club for the Dark Tower is going swimmingly. We've passed book 1.
Not all
so if you're going to join us... What's that? So, you've read them before. You're fine, Nick.
I'm still in tall.
You know what? I actually just finished The Gunslinger this afternoon. So I'm a little bit behind, but this is my 4th time through, so whatever. So the next book is due on July 17th. Yeah, that's all I got.
Oh shit! I really better pick up my pace. I'm only a fourth of the way through book 4. You guys are gonna lap me real fast.
Well, yeah.
I'm a very slow reader.
The book pace picks up at book 5, so
that's true. That's true.
It'll help you read faster, right? That's how it works.
We'll go with that.
Okay. That's all.
For my part, I've had a little bit of a renaissance with Game of Thrones, the LCG, recently. I've been hanging out a lot with my buddy Brian, and he's very fickle when it comes to card games, it turns out. But he's definitely picked up Thrones again, and I forgot how much fun it is when you don't take it too seriously. Like when you can just kind of ignore all the power meta cards and just kind of have a gentleman's agreement to just not care about optimizing decks. Turns out competitive games are a lot more fun.
Sean, I was thinking about Thrones because I have such a love-hate plus relationship with it, where it's like...
Yeah, there's love?
I have such a like and hate. I'm trying to think of a worse word than hate, but I can't.
Megaload!
But I bet if you were to, build a cube or something for it, or build some sort of, pool that we could draft from... I think I might enjoy it more.
There's an official draft set.
Sure. Well, I don't want to buy it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I would supply it if you guys would actually play it. But yeah, no, it's totally draftable.
I think that if we did that, where we took out a lot of the high power cards and focused on an even playing field, and then supplied the card pool, I think I would probably enjoy it more than then here's this deck, and I'm like, what is, okay.
Yeah, when you've built it yourself, there is definitely a little bit more investment.
Right.
Yeah, I have a ton of... I have the whole collection, and I just recently got around to organizing it or keeping up with the organizing. And Thrones is definitely a game I enjoy, but yeah, it's something where like I do not have the time to keep up with competitive stuff, and it's kind of like I definitely get that people get a lot of enjoyment out of tournaments and whatnot, but it seems to me that a lot of problems and like misery with competitive games is traced to the competition itself.
It can be.
Turns out,
like this drive to win is what is driving all this like warped metas in these games and people just playing boring decks, and it's like it turns out the game's more fun when you just kind of have fun with it.
Yeah, so I've been playing a ton of that. Actually got the opportunity to hop on as a guest host for the White Book podcast, which is a podcast about Game of Thrones. And we did a little game that started on Cardboard of the Rings called The Murder, which is always fun. We'll be importing that game to this game as well.
Yes, we should.
At some point in the future.
We should.
That'd be a perfect one. I don't even play Game of Thrones anymore. I'm going to listen to that episode if you guys are playing The Murder. Because that is just...
Well, and Brian's in fine form.
Oh.
Listen for him if for no one else.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Because a lot of times, that's what drew me to the game is the theme. Because I am a big fan of those books, but I find in the podcast I've listened to that the theme unfortunately doesn't get talked about much because it is mostly just nuts and bolts like build a deck and tournaments. But I like when people talk about the theme of Thrones because there's a lot of good theme stuff in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, FFG, as much as we love to rag on them and criticize when they have foibles, if nothing else, they do right by their licenses.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anyway, that should be, I think that's releasing next week, so if I'm counting correctly by their episode, if you're interested in going to listen to that, and it's really not a whole lot about the card game, it's way more just about A Song of Ice and Fire. I think that should be episode 297, if the count is correct. So, check it out. All right, so go on.
Is A Song of Ice and Fire the name of the first book, or is that the name of the series?
The series.
It's the name of the series, yeah. So, Game of Thrones is the first book, and that's kind of taken over as kind of a stand-in title for the series overall, because that's what they named the show.
It's like this other book series, the Gunslinger series, which is actually the Dark Tower.
Right.
The Gunslinger series.
Yeah.
All right, so before we put a cap on this one, a couple things.
I have a tentacle.
Oh shoot! Sorry, Nick. I totally thought I hit you already.
It's all right. I mean,
what you got? What you got?
I was going to talk about
a tentacle. Sorry.
You know what it was? I saw you change your thing in the in our show notes here, and for my broken brain right now, that was like, oh, we've talked about it. So,
no, I was going to talk about Street Masters, which is this awesome board game that just finished up on Kickstarter. It's designed by Brady and Adam Sadler. Is that how you say the last name?
Sadler, yep.
I've never heard the last name before. Sadler, yeah. Who I met Brady at Arkham Knights, and we've been chatting back and forth. And I'm actually doing...
yeah, they're friends of the show. They do good work.
Mm-hmm. And I know that the Kickstarter was linked when it was active, so people here have seen it at least a little bit. And I'm doing some narrative work for them, so I've been spending a lot of my free time writing stories for these awesome Street Fighter-inspired characters. So that's really cool. And I was going to talk about that, but the fact that the Kickstarter is actually finished now, I didn't want to go check out Street Masters and it's not. It's the Kickstarter's done. It succeeded. It's wildly succeeded, but instead, I'll talk about what has been commanding the other sliver of my free time lately, which has been Bloodborne, which I spent my reading time today beating Bloodborne, and then immediately after I beat it, it just launches right into New Game Plus, and I was like, yeah, I'll play for a little bit. I'll play to the first lamp on New Game Plus, and the next thing I know, I have the first 2 bosses done on New Game Plus. I'm like, I need to stop. Otherwise I'll just keep going. So, just like any other Souls game, Bloodborne is the kind of game where it is a hard challenge the whole way through, and then once you get to New Game Plus, the challenge subsides only a little bit, where like a lot of the regular enemies aren't much of an issue anymore. The bosses still can be, but the enemies themselves, like, because everything scales with you to some degree, but the enemies themselves aren't a big issue, but the bosses still can be. So that accelerated progress that I saw in New Game Plus really kind of spurred me on to like, well, I'll go to the Cleric Beast. Well, I'll go to the first, main boss, and well, okay, I'll just go a little bit further. And it's, oh god, it's such a good game. Like, seriously, probably one of my favorite PlayStation games out there. Bloodborne. Amazing. Play it.
I've been avoiding that genre for so long because I don't know if I have the patience for it.
I think you do. The thing is that and I talked about this back when I was reading the Dark Souls Companion, but the difficulty curve is something that people who are new to Soulsborne's games and people who haven't played Soulsborne games, that's what they latch onto, because that's what the word of mouth is that, oh, it's so hard, oh, it's really, really hard. But it's not that it's difficult, because it is, but it's not like it's soul-crushingly difficult. It's that it forces you to learn and to adapt. And as long as you're doing that, you're fine. And in the situations where you can't learn or don't have the patience to learn, just farm blood echoes from an easier spot until you're overleveled. I did that a couple times. There was a couple of zones that I was like, oh, I hate this zone. I literally don't want to play this. And so I just went to an easier spot. I got about 10 levels higher than what I should have been, and I was able to walk through it decently. So,
You do you have that on physical disc?
I do not. I have it digital. I buy the vast majority of my games digitally now. Yeah.
You youngsters and your ones and zeros.
When you're packing up for a move, it's so much easier just to pack the console.
That'll do it. Yes. That'll do it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I know that.
Otherwise, I would totally loan it to you. If I had it physical, I would definitely do that, but I don't.
I'm sure it's not that expensive nowadays.
No, that was why I picked it, because it was between that and Dark Souls 3, and Dark Souls 3 was, I think, $40, and Bloodborne was $20, so...
Well, I'm almost done with Mass Effect, so I'm going to have room in my life pretty soon.
Oh my
Mass
god,
Effect
you haven't finished that yet?
Massive game. It is a massive game. Like, you beat Inquisition, right?
Yes, I beat Inquisition.
Did you like completionist beat Inquisition, or did you just finish the main storyline?
No, I don't 100% games very often. With Inquisition, there were like a couple zones where I was like, I'm really gonna dig into this zone, but overall it was just get me to the next story checkpoint. Get me to the next story checkpoint. Okay. So
yeah, so I think Andromeda in structure is most like Inquisition. So it's just bigger. There's like two more worlds essentially.
Yeah, I need to get back to it at some point.
Oh man, and the multiplayer's so tight. I'm just so sad I don't have anyone to play with.
Well, hey, if you get Bloodborne, I'll get Andromeda eventually.
Fair enough.
Andromeda costs a lot more than Bloodborne does, so but yeah, I will get it.
That's true. It did just drop to 40. The internet has won.
Maybe.
Okay, so before we button this up, couple things. First, a fun thing, I think. I'm still confused by it, so maybe you guys will have a better idea. You guys heard last week we got our first Mythos Busters hotline voicemail. We did get a follow-up, though I am confused by it. There was really no context. I haven't bothered to call back the number because I'm a little scared. So I'm going to play this for you guys. It's pretty short and sweet, and we'll see what you think.
You fool! Warren is dead.
Yeah, that's literally it. So on the optimistic side, this is the first clue that will lead us on a chase that someone has set up, like a game or like some podcast transcending community-wide scavenger hunt to solve some mystery. On the pessimistic side, someone got sauced while playing Arkham and decided to call us.
I mean, I like both of those options.
I would love if it were the first, but I would put money on the second.
I don't know. It seemed quite like,
There was a flare of drama to it.
Yeah. It wasn't like, you guys, Warren's dead.
Maybe,
oh my god.
Maybe he's
Click.
just pissed that Warren Rice got sacrificed in Blood on the Altar.
Yeah, Blood on the Altar.
Maybe he blames us for some reason.
It's quite possible. I'd blame us.
I blame us for pretty much everything.
I blame Sean, but...
So, I'm largely confused by it, but it was fun to sit and ruminate on it for a little bit. But if anyone's got any ideas, I'd love to hear it.
I have gotten white rice sacrifice before, so...
All right, so last thing I want to touch on before we close this up is kind of a weird topic to broach. Well, I don't know. It's just it's as a content creator, you know. So basically, what I did is I made the mistake of went out and reading a couple of our iTunes reviews, most of which, 2/3 of which were really great. One rankled me a little bit though, and I'm not like opposed to getting a bad review because the comment was completely a legitimate gripe. But basically, someone reviewed us 1 star and called out, like I said, legitimately that our content is great, but our release schedule is woefully inconsistent. Which, again, is a completely legitimate gripe. I'm just a little bit confused how that gets to 1 star. Because I'm a 5-star man! That's a Sunny reference for you guys. But anyway, it got me to thinking. Beyond just feeling a little weird about, you know, just like it's too easy on the internet to just, yeah, I'm angry. I would love to see some other reviews. 18. Was that?
That was our episode 18. Was the I'm angry?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. Though, I would still have given Arkham Horror the card game a 3-star rating at that point.
Yeah, it does remind me of when I used to be a waiter and these people complained about the food being like inedible, and then they asked for a to-go box to take it. yeah, that reminds me.
So anyway, the reason I bring it up is not because I mean I do this as a hobby. None of us are getting paid for this. This is a labor of love. If we had 3 0-star ratings out there, that would what can you do? But I would actually like to see maybe some more reviews out there because it's really the only way we get feedback outside of the yahoos who come and listen to us live here. Mm-hmm. So, Nick, I think you had some cool ideas for incentivizing people to maybe just hop out for a quick second and throw a review down.
Yeah, sure. So I've got 2 ideas that when we were talking about this that I posited. One of them we can do for sure. Well, we can do both of them for sure. But one of them is very easy, and I can see this just being a regular part of our show. Where just at the top of our show, we just thank any new 5-star reviewers that we got. And really, we could do not even 5-star. Like, we could do 4 or whatever. But, I mean, obviously...
We'll take anything at this point.
Sure. But, obviously, of course, we want 5-star reviews because that helps the podcast in, like, the iTunes metrics, and it helps get it into the eyes and ears of more listeners, and that's ultimately what we want, of course, because we want as many people to enjoy this as possible. So, obviously, thanking people who review at the top of the show would be something that we could easily add to our docket. The other one was an idea that I got, an idea that I stole from one of my favorite podcasts, which is called the NPC Cast. It is a general tabletop gaming podcast. They've been going for like 4 years now. Great podcast. I highly suggest all of you check them out. And the concept that I'm taking from them, or that I'm throwing at these guys here and seeing how they feel about it, is one of the hosts on NPC Cast takes a 5-star review. When he gets a 5-star review, he will read it on the air in the voice of the reviewer's choice. So the reviewer would post a review and say something like Christopher Walken, and then they would write the review, and then he has to read it like Christopher Walken.
This could be gloriously terrible.
So yeah, I don't want to put anyone else through it, but I would put myself through it, and I would say I would love to try that for at least a couple of reviews to see how much I can embarrass myself for you guys giving us 5-star reviews. So
I am I'm 110% behind that idea. I volunteer as tribute. I think that's an awesome idea.
So you could...
I walk around all day doing shitty impressions anyway, might as well get a few laughs out of it.
So if you feel inclined to write a review and you give it 5 stars, also name a voice you would like it read in and name a host. And we will do that. Unless any of us are straight up saying, no, I don't want to do it. Like, that's totally no judgment. I meant it just for me. But it sounds like Scott and Sean are all aboard as well. So
I have zero ability to do impressions, but sure, I'm game.
Be fun to just give one for Ian and have him read
I would
it in
love
Scott's
to hear
voice.
it. Sorry, give me a second.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, cool. So yeah, hop out there. Just we appreciate the feedback. If it's not a 5-star rating and there's a reason for it, I honestly want to know. We want to make this as good as it can be. Right. And obviously, we've kind of chosen certain styles. If you're going to complain about the length, completely legitimate gripe, probably not going to change. Just gonna throw that out there.
I've tried to get it changed. It's not happening.
So in the interest of not making that worse, let's put a button on this one, guys. Any closing thoughts, Nick?
And as always, if other than just leaving reviews, if you do have any feedback or questions or comments or concerns, email us at our email. I know Sean's going to say it in a minute, but mythosbusterspod@gmail.com.
Definitely. Scott?
If you guys want a shorter podcast, you can always just use the pause button. Sorry, that
it does exist.
Little passive aggressive, but I don't understand. Like, I want less content, please. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Anyway,
there are articles for under 2 hours.
Right,
Fair
there
enough.
certainly are. There certainly are, and tone in criticism becomes very important because there are some. We've gotten criticisms from time to time, and there are some that I read it and I just go, "Oh, you're welcome for your free entertainment. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We'll refund you the full price." Ian, anything from you?
Just be sure to check out the Spotify playlists that are just kind of a fun side project, just coming up with playlists for each investigator that I think kind of has to do with their character. I'm done with everyone so far except for Daisy, which will be out by the time you hear this, and Agnes is the last one, so I don't know if Sean is going to want to come in and contribute on that one or not, but
I will contribute, but I don't think I have enough musical repertoire to round it out.
Sure. And other than that, final thought is just Wendy is God and heathens will be punished.
All right, so like we mentioned, help us get rated on iTunes. We'd love to see some more metrics get pushed in that area, so if you've got a minute, we'd really appreciate hearing your thoughts. If you've got comments, you are always free and encouraged to call us at the Mythos Busters hotline at 203-493-MYTH. That's 203-493-6984. As Nick said, you can email us, tweet at us at Mythos Busters, visit our website at mythosbusterspodcast.wordpress.com. Like us on Facebook, join our Discord. This will always be the most emphatic prop I give because our Discord is awesome.
So amazing.
Discord.me/mythosbusters to generate a free invite there. And, of course, check on our YouTube and Twitch channels, which are always ongoing, though a little hard to schedule nowadays. And the Miskatonic AV Club, of course, should be getting an update of probably about 3 to 4 episodes probably within the next couple weeks here. So pay attention. If you haven't subscribed to that separate RSS, go check out the Miskatonic AV Club. Whew. Yeah, I keep adding things to that and regretting it every time.
I have something more to add. On our Facebook page, you can just hit the call us button.
Yeah!
And you don't have to type in numbers like a pleb who dials phones.
Who has phones? Everything's in the computer now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for this horse memory, and we will see you guys next time on Mythos Busters.
Sean, you remember and Scott, you probably would too, the old Star Wars CCG card Han's Lucky Dice?
Yes.
For the longest time, I would try and pay
that.
attention to the Millennium Falcon cockpit scenes to see if the lucky dice were there.
Yeah.
They're so tiny.
They're not
Like,
there.
I didn't real. What?
They're not there.
Yeah, no, they're not
pretty
there.
What?
No, that was the
No,
first time I
no.
noticed that Decipher Doctor Descartes came up with their own image.
Mm-hmm. There was a Hydra Spanner card too, wasn't there?
Maybe. I guess I don't know.
I'm just
I'm
thinking when
pretty
Han was...
sure I remember Chewbacca getting up and hitting his, and they're like 6mm dice. I'm gonna look at this. I'm gonna find
6 millimeter. And you notice them
It's
amidst
tiny.
Chewbacca's hair.
Sean's used to finding 6mm among hair, so it's okay.
Oh my god. I don't want... That was better than I
I'm
want to
too
give it
proud
credit
to be
for.
angry.
Jesus, man, save it for the episode title.
Hey, we're recording, so this is a good cold open or a good stinger at the end.
Yeah. I suppose that's worth an Easter egg.